Hey everybody, welcome back to Vague Ramblings, and with this new feature I'm adding to the channel called Vague Releasing, which I'm going to use to cover a lot of new video releases or sort of upcoming ones, from mainly concentrating on genre titles, but there'll be other ones kind of thrown in, but especially covering some of the more like independent companies and stuff, which are sometimes hard to kind of know what's going on and what releases are coming up, especially if they're limited and that kind of thing. So I'm going to use actually this channel to hopefully spread some awareness of some upcoming titles and hopefully make it easier for people to find out exactly what is coming out and what is available. So I'm going to start it off with one of everyone's favorite companies, is Scream Factory, and they have a couple interesting releases coming up. First up is they are doing a box set of the Record films, the original Spanish ones, and that's pretty cool because I don't know if they've all... I know the first one has not been on Blu-ray before. I think some of the more recent sequels have, but this is going to be a box set that's going to have all of them, and that is coming out in September 25th, I believe. So that's exciting because that's sort of been kind of a highly requested one, especially I know like the first film has been. Also on September 25th, they're releasing two interesting sequels that are creating a little bit of a mixed reaction among fans, but I think definitely ones that, for the most part, I think a lot of people are sort of interested in getting, especially if there's a lot of behind the scenes on them. First up is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which is the fourth Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And that has, oddly enough, that's kind of one that is both hated, but it also highly requested among fans for the longest time. It was, I think, caught up in a rights issue, but it's finally getting a release, and kind of excited that it's Scream Factory. They're doing a new transfer of the theatrical version, and they're trying to track down elements so that they can release the unrated version. I don't know what that's going to entail. I think it depends on what they could find. I'd assume at the very worst, maybe they could do what they did on Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is if they can find standard definition elements of the unrated parts and then sort of edit those in, at least we get something. But hopefully they can find all the elements so that they can definitely release a full unrated version. Extras are still being planned. I wouldn't expect interviews with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey, but hey, you know, weirder things have happened. And finally, they're releasing Exorcist II: The Heretic, which is one of those almost famous, you know, movies because it's just so bizarre, and I kind of consider it one of those like it's so bad it's good titles. And I'm really hoping that they can assemble a good amount of extras, because that's one of those films where I have a feeling the making of the film is actually a lot more interesting than the film itself. Although I actually do love the film. I admit it's terrible, but again, it's one of those that I've said it's so bad it's good. But I've actually, you know, it's one of those films where I've actually watched it so many times in my life. When it would pop up like on late night cable and stuff, I would always leave it on. So I'm actually really excited for that release. They are doing, I believe it's going to have two cuts of the film. The longer extended cut, which is the one that's generally been available, and I believe they're going to have the theatrical cut of it, which I don't believe has been available for the longest time. So looking forward to more details as they come out. Next up is Mondo Macabro, and they're releasing a Fulci film, a Lucio Fulci film from 1969. It's one of his more sex giallo type films, which he made actually several of. They're not as well known, obviously, as his horror titles, but it's one I've never seen, so I'm actually excited because, you know, whenever you get to see a new Fulci film, it is definitely a big deal. And it is Perversion Story, also known as One on Top of the Other. So as more information comes up on that, including release dates and everything, I will definitely mention it. Some new stuff coming up from Severin. In case you didn't know, Severin is releasing The Changeling, which is coming out August 7th. Now that's a film that a lot of us have been wanting for the longest time. It actually hasn't really been released since a DVD in like early 2000s or something. So at least 15 years or so, if not more. And so that's really exciting. It's going to be like a full special edition up for pre-order now and everything. So that's really exciting. So if you haven't gotten it, you can get it from anywhere, but if you order it directly from Severin, I think you can. They have different package options. You know, they have their special bundles, and you get kind of cool stuff as well. You also get a limited slipcover. So that's really cool. I'm really excited that they're finally releasing that one, and hopefully, you know, the rights issues that surrounded that one and rights issues that are surrounding other titles, hopefully are getting loose up so we can start getting some of these movies out. Another new one from Severin, which is, I believe, only going to be sold on the Severin website, is Combat Shock. It's going up for sale this, or pre-order, I should say, this Friday, which, depending on when you're watching it, is June 22nd. And it'll be available, I believe, I think beginning of July. And it's limited to, I think, 2,000. And it's coinciding with a sale that also Severin is doing a complete sale across all their titles with the exception of ones that have come out in 2018. But if they're older titles that you missed, I think they're going to be like half off and everything. So the pre-order and the sale both start on Friday, June 22nd. So I know I'm going to be jumping on that. Finally, after what seems like forever, Universal is releasing on August 28th their final 2 classic monster box sets, and it's going to be the Invisible Man films, and it's going to be Creature from the Black Lagoon films, and which is really cool. Kind of been waiting because they've been dripping out like 2 releases at a time over the last couple of years. But what's really cool is that the Creature from the Black Lagoon set, obviously the original film is going to be in 3D as has been existing, but they've also managed to go back and do Revenge of the Creature, the second film, in proper 3D, which has not been available for, like, I think there was like some bad anaglyph ones from like years ago. This is going to be proper true 3D. And that is really exciting. They did a 4K, I believe it was a 4K restoration from original elements, and the 3D archive did the 3D conversion. So that's going to be exciting. Again, that's coming out from the end of August. And also, if you haven't gotten any of them, or you just like your movies more self-contained, they are going to be releasing a massive box set that's going to have all of the movies in it from each one. You know, all the Frankenstein's, Dracula's thing. So if you haven't picked up any of the single releases of the ones that they've released so far, there's going to be just one big box set if you want to go that way. Also, another exciting release in the 4K area is Sony is actually releasing a new 4K release of John Carpenter's Christine in the beginning of September 11th, I think. And that's going to be exciting, especially for me, because I love that film so much. I mean, obviously I love John Carpenter's films in general, but also that's sort of one that I think sometimes gets overlooked when people think of John Carpenter films. So it's really exciting that they're doing a 4K version of that one. I'd love to see more of his films get 4K releases, you know, and especially those early ones that could showcase a lot of Dean Cundy's great cinematography. So that's definitely one. I'm not going to wait on a sale or anything. I'm getting that one day one. And one other update on a Scream Factory release is Piranha 2: The Spawning. As some of you may remember, it got announced like a year or 2 ago, and then it got canceled because I think there was some rights issues or something, and it finally got announced earlier this year, and it is coming out July 31st, and they did announce that they did do a brand new transfer from the original camera negative. Now, unfortunately, there's no interview or commentary with James Cameron, as much as I think that actually would have been kind of cool. But, you know, I guess who knows what happened there. I'm guessing he's probably just really hard to get a hold of right now. But it does look like it's going to be a really cool release. I have it on pre-order. I can't wait to get it. That's actually it's one of those films that's actually really fun. It's you know, it's as cheesy as it is, it's a really fun film. From a newer company that's been around actually for a couple of years, but they really are trying to up their game, is Unearthed Films, and they're releasing a new version of The Unnameable coming out, I believe this fall. And I know that's been a highly requested title, and they've gone back and they've given it a brand new 4K scan from the original negative. They're throwing out a bunch of like interviews and everything. I believe it comes out maybe October, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be exciting. I'm really excited about that. And also, if you haven't heard, they also are the ones who got the new U.S. rights to release a Serbian film. And there's no release date for that yet, but there was talk, I believe, that it might actually be an extended cut. So I'll have more on that as that gets released. But in the meantime, definitely very excited for The Unnameable and very much looking forward to that release. And finally, some upcoming news from Blue Underground. I know they're not releasing as many titles as they used to. There was an interview with Bill Lustig where he mentioned that he's kind of only going to do a small number of titles from now on. But he did announce some good ones that are coming down the line. So first off, which is probably really exciting, is that he actually found the original 16mm negative to his film Maniac. All previous video releases were done from the 35mm blow up. So it's always extra grainy and everything because they thought the negative had been lost, but they've actually found it and they gave it a new 4K scan. And so they're working on it now. So it actually could be out later this year because they've already done the scan. Now they're just doing all the extras and stuff. Well, actually, I think they're just porting over most of the extras. I know they shot, I think, some location, like revisiting the location stuff. But I mean, really, you know, the previous release had fantastic extras. It just had a kind of a bad transfer. So if they just poured over all the existing extras and with this brand new transfer, I mean, I'm buying that day one. That's exciting for me because I love Maniac. Two other titles that he announced that are in the works are new editions of The Final Countdown, which is really exciting because that, you know, the original Blu-ray release, you know, the master for that was mainly one that was done for DVD. Even though it was an HD master, you know, the idea at the time was that when you did masters, even though they were started in HD, they were technically intended for DVDs, so sometimes they can be a little quality isn't quite up to par, especially nowadays what you can do. So looking forward to getting that one when that one gets further along. And very exciting news, they're doing a new edition of Lucio Fulci's Zombie, and they're going back and giving it a brand new transfer and, you know, whole 9 yards. And I'm very excited for that one. I love that film, and so I can't wait to find out what is going to go into that edition as news comes out. So that's about everything. Obviously, stuff kind of comes up all the time. So these videos are going to be, they may even alter a little bit because if there's sort of news that comes up that it's just like, really got to get the word out. I may do it more from my webcam on my computer, so quality is going to be changed probably a little bit, but you know, main thing is just getting the news out on these titles because I'm always excited to find out when new stuff is coming out. But you know, a lot of this stuff is really hard to keep track of, and I sort of started thinking, I was like, man, I wish there was some place I could go to kind of just have an idea of what the heck is coming out, and it's instead of having to, you know, constantly search. And it's like, I don't mind doing, you know, searching out. And I was just like, well, why don't I do that? You know, why don't I just kind of make it easier for some people? So I'm hoping this is a good help to a lot of you out there who, you know, are always kind of maybe sometimes finding out about titles after the fact, especially if they're limited. You know, that can be kind of hard to keep track of. So I'm going to do my best to kind of keep you guys up to date. And yeah, as always, like, comment, subscribe, you know, all that fun stuff. Let me know what you're looking forward to. And if there's any title, too, that I'm not aware of, by all means, bring it to my attention. So that's it until next time, where I'll bring you up to date with all the new releases.